Tomb Raider Underworld. This is the last of the Legend Anniversary Underworld timeline. And it really does bring this set of games, this trilogy, to an end. And it really does tie in certain details that were addressed in both Legend and Anniversary. And keeps with the same style. Now, it also introduces us to some new threats. And it starts in basically in media res. We actually join the game in the middle of it, as our somewhat tutorial thing is Laura trying to escape from a burning Croft Manor. And this is also revealed in the opening cinematic that the person who seemed to have started this fire and the chaos is, well, it's Lara Croft, it appears. And the truth of the matter is, it's not Lara Croft. This is also hinted at that, well, you're not necessarily told it by the reactions once you get through the tutorial section and join Winston and Zip. Because just when we go back to a time that is 2 weeks prior, we see Zip trying to shoot Laura. Now, it is at this time that when we go 2 weeks prior, we have Laura in the basic. She is in the Mediterranean Sea in her search for Avalon, which is hinted at the end of Legend. That's where her mother is. Now, deep in some undersea ruins, we find an entrance into Niflheim. Which isn't actually, it is could be linked to the underworld in Norse mythology. She even discovers the device that is to be Thor's gauntlets, which is what helped him wield Mjolnir. Of course, she is ambushed by, mercenaries sent by Amanda Everett. But she manages to reclaim the gauntlet, which has basically shaped itself to her hand. In fact, after Laura has escaped having the gauntlet, then have it taken from her, and then reclaim it by going to the mercenary ship, we discover not only is Amanda on that ship, but she has a rather feisty captive slash partner. She has Jacqueline Natla. This means the two are working together, or should I say, one is using the other. While it would seem it is Amanda in charge of things, it's actually Natla who's actually in charge because she knows what's going on than what Amanda does. See, Natla also reveal once after Laura manages to get through to her little prison on Amanda's ship that she basically confirms what Amanda said before, that Laura's mother was sent to Helheim, Avalon. Helheim, another name for one of the underworlds. That's actually the one that all the disgraced warriors or those who didn't die in battle or anything like that went to. And she directs Laura to ruins in Thailand. Ruins that another Croft has visited before, her father. So Laura must now work her way into this. It is the ruin. She ends up in Thailand, navigating the ruins of Bhagavati, which is supposed to have apparently another gauntlet. We also find that when Laura's father had gotten there, he had found the gauntlet and removed it and destroyed a map showing location of some others of Thor's relics. So Laura now knows where the other gauntlet is. And if you're still wondering what the place is the Bhagavata, I'm butchering the name like crazy, so it's actually the underground capital of the Nagas in the lore of Buddhist mythology, or in Hindu mythology, I should say. So when she goes back home and checking out the Croft Manor crypt or the catacombs, she finds the gauntlet and a message from her father. And it reveals that Helheim contained, which in the recording reveals, Helheim contained a powerful weapon and he destroyed the map after recording it to prevent its use. We also learn about the thralls, which he managed to, you know, capture and managed to bring one back. Or is it two? Which Laura has to fight them. These are dangerous things. You cannot just, quote, blast them apart with weapons. not with normal weapons. You can down them with normal weapons, but you are going to have to scatter their remains or destroy the core of their remains, so they cannot be, you know, restored. This is about the time then when we come back out of there and all hell's breaking loose in the manor. We find out that the place was bombed by something that looked like Laura. She also, already Laura is getting a feel for what this is. And she goes back in, one, to hopefully rescue Alistair. But the doppelganger's still there and shoots Alistair. It's at this point where Laura reveals to them what they've just dealt with. That this was a doppelganger. But the last time she saw one, it wasn't as perfected as this one. And Laura continues the quest, much to, Zip thinking it's wrong. But the simple fact of the matter is that there's something bigger going on. She is aware of this. And she also knows that the person who made that doppelganger, you're going to need something powerful to get rid of them. Like Thor's hammer. Also, with Amanda now having that magical stone back because the doppelganger stole it, it's just going to add to the problems. Now, of course, all signs are pointing to ruins of Xibalba. Xibalba is the underworld in Mayan mythos, which takes her to Mexico. And we find out more things. We find out down there, after dealing with several trials and giant ass spiders, she managed to find an area with the Thor's belt, which will power the gauntlets. And is protected by even more thralls. We also get an idea of what Jormungandr is. And the truth of the lore of the trilogy. In fact, this will also lead Laura with information to where, quote, Valhalla is, which is in a very frozen over, another cold area. And once we get in there, unlocking the door with one of the biggest keys you will ever see. We get an idea now of getting the actual hammer. We also get our first encounter with, I think, a Yeti thrall. And boy, are those things big. There's also a very, very distinct hammer theme in that area. Of course, now with the hammer, and with how powerful this thing is, we once again storm the ship, or a new ship, to once more deal with Natla. Of course, we also sort of get a surprise visit from the doppelganger, too, which is showing Amanda that, you know, doesn't have the, Amanda's not the one, isn't as in control of things as she thinks she is. Yep. Doppelganger apparently kills her. Apparently. And Natla disappears, leaving Laura the coordinates to where she has to go. Laura's no fool, and she knows that she may be working with Natla at this point, but she knows that eventually Natla will betray her. So once we get done with that, and we then head off to Helheim, or we do, well, where actually Helheim is, which is apparently somewhere in the north, in the Arctic Sea. Well, Laura dives into the place, making her way into Helheim, coming across what looks like her mother, or a thrall that looks like her mother, but we can see that she is no longer human. Laura is forced to, you know, she sort of proved that Avalon is not what people think. In fact, Natla set all that up just for her own jollies. She reveals the truth to Laura. One, she was the one who killed Laura's father after his betrayal in Thailand. She reveals the truth that Jormungandr isn't a giant serpent that spews poison. Although, let's face it, that blue stuff, the Aether, I think that's how it's pronounced. Aether. Well, this stuff is sort of the force behind all the fault lines. And that Jormungandr is actually a device that will trigger vol- apocalyptic quakes, volcanoes, everything. Now, of course, Laura must now deal with this doppelganger, which, unfortunately, it's a lot better than the one she first encountered. And the doppelganger sort of has the upper hand until Laura gets help from an unexpected source of help, Amanda. And while Amanda is still not necessarily friends with Laura, and Laura spared her life before, they're not on good, are not quote leaving on quote good term, meaning on good terms. But they both agree, she agrees that Natla has to be stopped because, well, she may not like Laura, but she doesn't want the world to be destroyed. So Laura follows Natla, works to disable the device, using Mjolnir to basically send Natla falling into the Lake of Aether. Well, Laura and Amanda end up saving the world, but they could be dying in that chamber until, Laura and they find a way to use a dais to travel, leaving, you know, this place and heading back, arriving back in the Nepalese monastery where Amelia, first disappeared. Amanda's about to restart the fight, but backs down and leaves when Laura refuses. Basically, it's like, are we really still going to be doing this? And Laura does say a final goodbye to her mother after all this. Now, there are two DLC. I didn't get to play them. They were only sort of like on certain systems, I believe. And these special add-ons, they were called. One was called Beneath the Ashes, and the other Laura's Shadow. Which literally is, I think it's playing as the doppelganger. Because if you find out the doppelganger survives, she finds a disfigured Natla, and due to a magical command, takes Natla to the doppelganger's birthplace and starts the healing technology to help save Natla. But Natla orders the doppelganger on a second and last mission to kill Laura and then itself. Which then, Laura has found out about a stone that helps create thralls, which has these magic words on it. And when the doppelganger comes to attack her, Laura gives the command bringing the doppelganger under her control. So, Laura now having control of the doppelganger questions the doppelganger and then has the doppelganger she does something which I think would have probably surprised the doppelganger. As I said, I've never played this downloadable content because I don't think it was ever fully released on anything other than what system was that on? I think it was Xbox that only got the DLC. Yeah, it was exclusive to that to the Xbox 360. But during this whole thing, Laura then uses the command and basically frees the doppelganger of all control. Well, basically the command will free her of, not being able to take any more control anymore or be forced to obey any orders, but not they'll be free to be their own person. But she also sends it back to Natla as a means of avenging Alistair. And to the doppelganger's credit, they do go back to Natla and destroy the healing machine. And watches as Natla is basically drowned in aether. Finally, well, ridding the world of Natla's threat. Now, yes, this game did have some issues with it. There are some glitches that are still in the game that, in order to get things to work, you have to turn off, and then turn back on VSync. That's right towards the end of your time in the Naga area. Bhagavati. You got other things you have to deal with. Definitely not a good thing if you are, Zabalba is a very tricky area if you are not too keen on spiders like myself. Let's face it, when one of those big ass things come up behind you, it's like, shit! I literally think I crapped my pants. The addition of a sonar map is great. It's a neat little thing. It gets, I mean, you never have to worry about picking up ammo in this game. So that's a plus. And it really does tie up the story of this game, of this trilogy. Now, the downside is the exclusive DLC. You can't necessarily, not everybody's going to get the full story. It ties up everything together with with anniversary stuff brought up at anniversary. It was a nice way to, quote, end this trilogy and set up maybe for a future encounter with Amanda, maybe redeeming herself like Von Croy attempted in the original timeline of the games. But we'll never know, because this timeline ended, unless in some future installment, as is the current theory, they're going to try and tie all the timelines together. Which I don't know how well that's going to fly. Well, that's what I'm going to say about Underworld for right now. Though the next one, the next little retrospective I'm going to have together is these three games as a whole. But I will say this game is definitely probably easier with a controller. That's not to say you can't play it with a mouse and keyboard. But it used some very fun mechanics that they had in the earlier games, like the zip line, the magnetic line, whatever they want to call it now. It adds so much to the lore. And, of course, Alistair's death, that's a gut punch. But we also get to see, like, how evil some characters can be. But like I said, that's all I'm going to say about Underworld. Next time around, it'll be the whole trilogy. The whole trilogy we talk about. And so until then, well, of course, always please take care. Hope you enjoyed me talking about this, and I'm probably going to talk about Underworld again in a few months from when this premieres. as I'll be joining the Tomb Raider crew of, well, I am part of that Tomb Raider crew of for games my mom found. But we'll talk about more of it then. Bye all.